Hello, my name is Mark Godfrey. I'm a curator and writer and talking to you from London. And I worked with Francis Alÿs in 2010 on the exhibition A Story of Deception that happened at Tate Modern and Veals and the Museum of Modern Art in New York. I first got to know about When Faith Moves Mountains when it was published as an image on the front cover of Artforum magazine in the summer of 2002. And immediately after I saw the image, I would have opened up the magazine and read Francis Alÿs's text in the series 1,000 Words. And later, I would have come to know that work as a huge archive, as a film, as a complex installation, as thousands of drawings, as a book dedicated to it, and as a sort of proliferating series of objects. But I think it's important to say that I first knew it as this single image, and that in many ways the front cover of Artforum and the fact that there was just this aerial image of hundreds of people in a line on a sand dune shoveling, that was enough. It's interesting now I look back at the cover of Artforum to see that there was another image on the cover, which was Gerhard Richter's painting Betty, a painting of his daughter. And there were another artist who was advertised as being in the magazine, and that was David Hammond's. And I think it's interesting even to think about the relationship of Gerhard Richter, Francis Alÿs and David Hammond's. The connection with Richter, especially with a painting like Betty, is that Francis Alÿs has this ability to make iconic, memorable images. Everyone who is interested in Gerhard Richter remembers exactly what Betty looks like. And the image of When Faith Moves Mountains is extremely memorable. There are hundreds of images, of course, but the image on the front cover of Artforum was extremely memorable. And it's important that the image is extremely memorable because that helps the image circulate as a rumour. It helps it become the beginning of a myth that people might tell each other. Now, many artists struggle with the idea of boiling down complex issues into a single image or into a single line of text. But Francis Alÿs has a knack for doing this very well. And he knows that if you can compress a project into a single image, if you can distribute it as a postcard or maybe as a sentence, that will enable the project to exist not just as it will enable the project to exist as a rumour, and that will make it as effective as anything else. Another person who does that so well is David Hammond's, who was also in that issue of Artforum. And some of Hammond's most effective projects, I don't know whether they ever took place, but are known about as rumours. When David Hammond's, for instance, carried cotton around the streets of Harlem, it was never documented, there were never images, but it's known about as a rumour. And the key thing I think about rumours is that they can be understood or reinterpreted or misunderstood according to whoever's telling them, and that makes them very effective. In the case of When Faith Moves Mountains, some people might look at that image and interpret it as a very sad allegory about the state of politics in Peru in the early 21st century. The idea that successive administrations would expend maximum effort on changing and modernizing the country, but with minimum result, just as people put maximum effort into moving a sand dune with no result. But others might look at this rumour and think about it in exactly the opposite way, about the epic potential of communal activity and what can be possible when so many people come together to do something. Many people who are more interested or invested in histories of art would reinterpret or interpret this image of Faith Moves Mountains according to their own interests. People interested in the history of land art might have seen it as a critical commentary on previous generations of land artists who were socially aloof and who weren't concerned with the connection between their projects and the societies in which those projects took place. Lynn Cook read When Faith Moves Mountains as a kind of critique of community-based service-oriented practices which usually achieve or attempt to achieve some public good. And what was significant about When Faith Moves Mountains is all these people came together, but there was no public benefit afterwards in any obvious way. When I wrote about the project, I was interested in thinking about George Bataille's idea about waste and the fact that no one was paid who volunteered to be part of When Faith Moves Mountains, and really that the project as a whole could have been all about economies of waste rather than economies of production, and therefore you could think about this project in terms of a critique of capitalist efficiency. I'm now looking at the front cover of Artforum and at the images of When Faith Moves Mountains, and in the world of 2021, this image seems to have a different meaning for me. It's just very moving to see an image of so many people together in one place, enjoying each other's company, talking to each other, congregating to do something special outside but without masks. We took all of that for granted, and now looking at the image of When Faith Moves Mountains, it just reminds me of a time when people could come together and do something absurd, beautiful, purposeless, but we don't have that at this present moment. It's also a reminder of a time when an artist could travel and a curator could travel from one place like Mexico City to Peru in a relatively easy way, crossing borders and moving from one country to another, which is what Francis Alÿs did for so many years. And I guess in the last year, that kind of freedom of travel is so restricted. So one of the ways in which the work changes its meaning over time is that now it seems to stand for, at least for me, for a time that we all miss, of congregation and of movement, and that may hopefully come back.